Assalamu alaikum everyone and peace be upon you. This is Marwa here, and in this video I wanted to address a question that I get very often in my line of work. And it's a question that I address in my self-love course, which is about cultivating a healthy and fulfilling relationship with ourselves through our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But I also get this question just very often, even times when I post about cultivating a relationship with Allah that is loving and nourishing. And this question is about Allah's love being unconditional. So I'll get questions like, isn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's love, isn't God's love supposed to be unconditional? Why isn't God's love unconditional? And so this question is so important to address for many reasons. And this is a question that I was, it always drew my attention throughout the years. And it's part of the reason that led to, the course that I teach about self-love is because I found that there was a conflict in our understanding of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's love. And partly because many of us were taught about God in a very rigid way, in a very limiting way, not in a holistic way, and not in a way that was rooted in His love for us and in having a fulfilling, loving relationship with Him. And so many people I found had this relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with God, that was transactional, and was very much, they were taught about, their relationship with God in a way that was about, just simply solely focused on do this, get His reward, do that, get punished, right? Halal, haram, what is permissible, what is not permissible, what is allowed and what is prohibited. But a lot of times in working with people, what I noticed that is that this relationship and this concept of halal and haram and what is permissible, what is not permissible, and don't do this or do this, it was taught in the absence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's love. It was taught without connecting it back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's love, to God's love for us. And this caused this gap of understanding, between what we are doing in terms of following Allah's commands or obeying God and doing what is pleasing to Him, and experiencing His love. And so this created these questions within people, rightfully so, about, but like, shouldn't God love us unconditionally? And why am I always being taught that, if I do this, basically God's going to punish me, and I have to do this in order to earn His love, right? And so this is something that I teach because I believe it's something that needs to change within our psychology of understanding God. And it causes a lot of problems in people's lives, because when you struggle to understand that the one who created you loves you, it causes problems. And as a psychologist, I work with people all the time who have so many struggles in their lives because of their relationship with their first caretaker, their parents. They never either felt that their parents loved them, or they didn't have a secure attachment with their parents. People struggle because of their relationship with their caretakers, their parents, and I see how important it is for people to know that their parents love them. Now, in Arabic, we call parents Rabb al-Bayt, right? The caretakers of the house. And this word Rabb, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses for Himself. Sometimes in the Quran, Allah will refer to Himself as Ilah. This is the beauty of the Arabic language. It's so rich in meaning. And so, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will use different words to describe Himself, and they each have, there's wisdom behind why each of them are being used. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to Himself in the Quran as Ilah, it's usually in the context of worship, like the one we worship. And Rabb is usually referred to, as, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to Himself as Rabb, it's usually in reference to caretaking and Him being our provider and caring for us. And so, so while parents are Rabb al-Bayt, the caretakers of the house, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls Himself what? Rabb al-Alameen. He is the ultimate caretaker of all of the worlds, right? He is the ultimate provider. He's the ultimate caregiver. He's the ultimate nourisher. He's the ultimate he's the ultimate one who raises us, molds us. And so He is not just the Lord and the Rabb and caretaker of a household. He's the caretaker of all the worlds and that which is within them. So if we do not have, if a person can struggle because they never felt their caretaker of the house loves them, can you imagine then the struggles that we can experience when we never understood that the caretaker of the world loves us? And so it's so important for us to understand that the one who created us, the one who we go back to, the one who we are taught that he is, that our relationship with him is of utmost importance. It's so important for us to understand that, that relationship is rooted in love, that he does love us, that he has mercy towards us. And we're taught even in our faith that Allah's mercy for us, God's mercy for us is greater towards us than the mercy of a mother towards her child. And that's why, I love to, what helps me understand God more is just by looking at that relationship between a mother and child, because that's what reminds me of how immense God's love is, how immense God's mercy is towards us, and how everything, even what he commands and what he prohibits, and and everything that he allows us to do or does not allow us to do, everything that, even him putting consequences on our, for our behaviors and for our actions, even all of that is rooted in his love. And so I wanted to see Allah's love through, even when he commands us to do something, or when he says that there is a punishment for this action, and so this is a lengthy topic that we, it's hard to fill it in this time, in this short video. But when people ask me this question about, well, isn't Allah's love supposed to be unconditional, or when they think Allah's love is conditional, because many people just say that statement, Allah's love is conditional. So I like to respond to these statements or these questions by asking questions such as, well, then what condition did you have to fulfill for you to exist? What condition did you have to fulfill for you to be known? Meaning that before Allah created you, you were nothing. We were nothing. We were not a thing known, right? But not only did he create us, but as he says in the Quran, he fashioned us in the best of forms. And also he commanded our parents to name us the best of names. So he brought us into existence from nothing, gave us meaning, gave us purpose, gave us, a name, let us be something that is known and valued. And so what condition did we have to fulfill to get that? What condition did we have to fulfill to have sight, to have hearing, to have the ability to touch, the ability to experience our world? What condition did we have to fulfill for the earth, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, for the earth to be how he created the earth for us, right? How he beautified the earth for us. What condition do we have to fulfill to see such beautiful scenery, to see how he brings the earth to life when in springtime? My teacher used to always say, people spend so much, when people show their love, they give flowers, right? And they beautify gardens for people, or when they do an event, they bring all these flowers, and think about weddings, right? Like you beautify it with so many flowers, and people take the time to pick out the colors and the flowers that they want at their wedding. And we often miss how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala beautifies the earth with flowers for us during springtime, and brings this, basically gives us bouquets of flowers everywhere we go, during springtime, and in more places than others. But we don't think of that as, how many of us take the time to think about, wow, that's Allah's love. Or when we see a beautiful place and we think, wow, that's Allah's love. Like he created this for me. He created this for his creation. That's love, and so what condition did we have to fulfill to see this beauty on the earth, for the earth to be decorated for our sight, for our hearts, and so that's what the one who loves does. When someone loves someone, they give a gift, not for the sake of the gift itself, for the sake of expressing, one's love to the person they love. And oftentimes what we do is we see the gift, but we forget to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's love. And so Allah's love is everywhere. It's everywhere. It's something that is the foundation of everything that he has given us, everything that he has protected us from, everything that he has allowed for us, everything that he did not allow. It's rooted in his love for us. And many of these things, there were no conditions that we had to fulfill. He just gave it to us. And so my answer to this question is, on a foundational level, Allah's love did not have conditions. But as in any of our human relationships, you can have a foundation of love, but that love, depending on what we do, can either grow or can wither. And so what we have to understand is that his love for us should not be taken for granted. We are taught to not take our relationships for granted, but we think with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's just supposed to be something we don't work on. And this is why we ask Allah, Allahumma as'alaka hubbak wa hubba man yuhibbak, hubba amalin yuqarribna ila hubbak. Right? We ask him for his love and the love of those whom he loves and the love of the actions that bring us closer to his love. We ask him because we want more of his love. Not because he's never loved us, not because, this concept of conditional, it means that like Allah acts dependent on us, and Allah does not act dependent on anything we do, right? It's out of his, meaning that when he gives, it's out of his mercy, it's out of his giving, it's out of, because he is al-Wahhab, the giver, he is the Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, he is al-Wadud, the most loving. But he does not act, it's not meaning like our actions do not move Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, astaghfirullah, it does not move Allah. Allah acts on his own accordance. And so we need to kind of step away from this transactional relationship with Allah and start seeing his love for us, his mercy for us. That's what's going to propel us to work harder and to strive and to not take this relationship for granted. But if we're having a relationship with Allah that is in absence of his love, that relationship can breed resentment, can breed anger, that can breed a lack of nourishment. It's what leads people to check off their prayers but walk away empty-hearted. It's what leads us to be on cruise control and just go through the motions without us really benefiting our heart benefiting from what we are experiencing. And so out of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what he actually gives us is always more than what we deserve. So this is why in Hadith Qudsi, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if my servant comes to me walking, I go to him running. If my servant comes to me with a hand's length, I go to him with an arm's length. And so I'd like to end this video by reading to you a poem that I wrote on this topic. I wrote this a few years ago, and I teach this, I share this poem also in my self-love course. But this is a poem that I wrote years ago as I was reflecting on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's love and this emphasis that we have on love in our society, in our communities, and because love is such a central point. I mean, when I was growing up, I remember like asking my mother, and questioning like, why are all the songs about love, and why, it's either songs are about love or not having love and heartbreak. And so love is very important to all of us, as it should be, because love is something that we need, and it is supposed to nourish us and help us thrive. And so it's so important for us to understand that anything Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates is supposed to lead to him. And this is what led me to writing, this poem and doing this work, is that the gifts that he gives us point to him. And love itself is a means to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so this poem I wrote is called Al-Wadud. And I'll read it to you and we'll end with that, inshallah. So, Bismillah. I searched for love and saw others search for it too. We may not have defined it as love, but it was something we knew. Something we had already felt deep within our soul, because how can we want what we do not already know? We must have gotten a taste of what love is, or a newborn wouldn't yearn for a mother's kiss. We came out of wombs already knowing love, like a nostalgic scent of perfume, we yearned to smell it as it was. But nothing ever comes close to that love we knew. And when we think we found it, our longing for it only grew. It's like arriving at a mirage with our thirst unquenched, only to set out searching again with hearts confused and clenched. Because that love we seek, that love our soul already knows, it was meant to be the fragrance, but we mistook it for the rose. It was created as the path, the means, but not the end, so that our soul finds its way by following its scent. A scent the soul already knows because it smelled it before, when as commanded it rose, and a promise it swore. It knew it was love before it even entered the womb, because before it was nothing, and then it became something known. Who would give what is nothing life and make it beautiful and pristine if it wasn't out of love and to make his love known and seen? Only the creator of love would be the creator of you and me, because only he would create, nourish, and provide, but of needs be completely free. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us experience more of His love, give us more of His love, and help us, increase in the actions that will bring us closer to His love. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum.